How do you get from an original thought or idea or observation to a poem? How does that journey take place? For me, for my own writing, I found one of the best ways is to actually not sit there at a desk and to think, but to really engage with a physical experience or object, and to bring writing into the fold of that, into the zone of that, into a kind of intimacy. When I was keeping bees and writing about bees, my first experience of winter honey, of ivy honey, was something that I had not expected, and I didn't leave it for a few weeks and then from my memory dredge up the vague impressions left, but I worked there and then, and I took a piece of the comb with the honey in it, and I excavated the honey. And from that experience, from that tasting, from observing it from different angles, from holding it, from feeling, from thinking through the senses, I found ways to gather images and words that became the poem. I'll read a few lines, and this will give a sense, and I'll talk about that process. 12th of November, winter honey. To be honest, this is dark stuff, mud, tang of bitter, battery-tasting honey. The woods are in it, rot, decayed conglomerate, old garlic leaf tongue wretched by dead taste, stubborn crystal like rock ingredients, ivies, sweat, testosterone, the blood of might, something human in this flavour, surely. Has all the clamber, twist and grip of light-starved roots and beetle borehole dust. Deciduous flare of dead leaf, bright lights leached out like gypsum almost, alabaster ghost. What I'm gathering there is this kind of sense of decay that you get at that time of the year, just after ivy's flowering, which is one of the last flowers. You get it in the autumn there, in the late autumn. And in unmanaged woods, you get this proliferation of ivy. So I worked with that theme. I worked with that, and it's not. It describes woods, but it's a fundamentally human experience, and the language is the carriage that carries the voltage of experience, of effect, of all of these complex things. But fundamentally, it's a process of having fun, of engaging, of being there. And the poem acts to hold that together, to really try to keep the liveness, the experience of liveness. That for me is how I work. That for me is how I get from that original sense of what I want the poem to be about to that place where the language starts to happen on the page and to occupy its own relationships. And that's when the process of editing, I suppose, comes in, that you make a choice whether this is a transcription and this is how it happened, or whether you start to omit things, to filter those phrases and statements and the kind of shapes and patterns that words make in sound, and start to tighten and gather. One way is to edit and work at the poem until you have something you feel happy with. Another way is to keep dealing with them as rehearsals, almost like performance, and to try writing the poem and then to put that aside and then to try writing it again, almost like film takes, and to see the truth of the poem in the kind of way that the memory of what you've written before somehow starts to occupy the way that you try to say it again. And so I would suggest that if you have any anxieties about writing a poem, that you just see it as an act of speech, talking to something. It might be talking to a memory, it might be talking to an object that relates to what you're trying to say or write about.